This
also have done a
conference
couple of
will now
projects.
be recorded.
Yeah. So without kind of, let me give you a brief introduction to CAR and what capability it has and what SAP's offerings are here. And then maybe once, yeah, and then you can stop me anytime, and we can discuss here if you have any further queries on the capabilities and other things. This is just a overview session, and we will get into more details going forward. But yeah, let's start with the overview. Yeah, let me share my screen and let me know if you can see. Can something is wrong with that. For some reason, I'm not being able to make it full screen. Are you being able to see it? I'll increase the size a little bit. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's
Can you
okay.
hear me, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so, so when we say SAP car, so essentially what, I mean, just to go back a little bit into the history of SAP car, initially when retail came, the challenge with retail was the data, like the lot of, because in particularly in a retail scenario, you have a lot of articles, because in a manufacturing scenario, you will have a few number of handful number of products. When it comes to retail, and if you go into fashion further, then every year, every season, because you will have different articles in summer, different articles winter. So the number of articles are very high, and the number of transactions also. Let's say you walk into a store, you do a transaction and come back. Like there, so there are a number of transactions that happen. The number of transactions, number of articles, anything with data was huge. So when retail came in, so initially one of the key scenarios of retail was you have a POS machine, like a retail front end machine. Somebody goes and scans and then takes the product, but you need to feed that data back to your ERP system, like the currently we call it as S4 system. Earlier it was called R3, then ECC, and then now we call it as S4. Yeah. So now when we feed that data back, what we need to do is with that data is essentially we need to do two things. One is you post a financials for that data, and you reduce your inventory for that data. Yeah. So now, but since the data was huge, you can't send that as it is. So somewhere, and we don't need that data. Also, that time there was no need to hold that data as a kind of to hold that non-aggregated data within your ERP system. So that is where there was a system called POSDM, and what it used to do is it used to aggregate that data. Let's say for a particular store, for a particular date, for an article, there are 10 transactions happened. Each transactions had multiple quantities, and you add those quantities and you send uh, like a one record for that article, for that store for that day, so that you reduce the inventory and post your financials also, like tender and the sales revenue, everything. So that used to happen. It just used to act as a pipe. Yeah. And you would use that word pipe also a lot more when once we get into it. So it just used to act as a pipe, and the data used to come from the POS front-end system. It can be any system. Today, SAP has a solution called Hybris, which they have taken over, but it can be any POS systems. The data would come from POS systems through middleware to POSDM, and POSDM will aggregate that data and send it to your ERP system. That is what essentially it used to do. But then, as we evolve, as you all know, you are all in technical area, so you know now data is like gold. So once Earlier, you just once the data is aggregated, the data is lost. But now, what SAP with evolution of technology, and we have the database technologies have improved, so we can hold more data. And now data has the need of data is because now with the data we can do run some analytics, we can run customer specific promotions, and we can understand the customer behavior, and all that. With competition it became very important. So then SAP thought, look, we are getting so much data, but we are not doing anything with that. We are just wasting. So can you do something with that data? That is where the SAP car came in. I mean, the conception started because the data is already there with us. Can you do something further with that data? And that is what is SAP car all about. So essentially, the initial functionality, the capability that it used to have post data transfer and audit, that continued. So that was there. Then other in addition to that, because we have this non-aggregated data, SAP added few other capabilities as well into SAP car. So what they did is they did something called multi-channel transaction data management. It is just same thing like you have sales data from POS. Then do you have any other channels for your retail organizations? Normally we have, because in addition to any retail store you go, they have a store presence. They will have an online presence. There they would be selling online their products. There would be franchises. So there are multiple ways the sales can happen. So what multi-channel transaction data management did? Can we get all those data into car and run some kind of analytics? Yeah. So that is what multi-channel transaction data management deals with. Now then, when you have this sales data, and then you have your S4 system wherein everything like your warehouse management systems and everything is integrated to S4, and in turn that inventory data is available with you. You have your inventories, you have your sales, then can we run some forecasting? Can we see how the sales pattern is, and can we do some forecasting? That is where the unified demand forecast came. So essentially, unified demand forecast and demand data foundation, they are part of the same component. Like demand data foundation is essentially the data that is associated or that is required to perform a forecasting. You like your product data, your location data, you have demand influencing factors, you have season, in case of fashion you have season data. So all the data, how do we get to a data platform that is called demand data foundation? And once the data is there, how do we run a forecast? So that is came with UDF, United Demand Forecast.
So sorry to cut you, Balaji. So
Yeah.
we have to do the demand and planning uh, in S4 system or in car system then?
In car system, earlier SAP's the solution was SAP FNR. If you heard of, there was a solution which SAP bought, and they used to do forecasting using that solution. But now, since they have all the data in car, they thought, why don't we use car to do forecasting? So that's why now they are using SAP car to do the in UDF. They use SAP car to do the forecasting. But once the forecast is done, then okay, you may need to create order proposals or purchase orders to vendor to buy things. So that time it gets integrated back to S4. So all those orders and everything that flows back to S4. But the actual forecasting, like for next 6 weeks I need this much of stock to manage all my sales, that now happens within UDF, within car. Is that clear?
I got it. So is it mandatory to we should have all these six seven tabs whatever here is there? Okay, POS data, multi-channel, UI, demand data,
No, it is
channel.
because it
So
depends on the customer. Like for some customers, they already have a solution which do they like some customers they still use FNR legacy. So and some customers they have some legacy like Manhattan. Different. There are forecasting solutions. So if they have, they will not activate, they will not switch on that functionality in SAP car, and they will not use, because everything, for everything, if you use, you have to pay license, because it is currently the SAP
Mm-hmm.
licensing is per use. It is no more earlier in back 10 years back, it used to be based on number of users and other things, but now it is purely based on usage. So if you don't use United Demand Process, you don't need to pay for the license. So that is where some customers use it, some customers don't. It is not mandatory to have. But as a box, when you have SAP car, all these functionalities available. Now, what you need to use depending on your requirements, that is something, yeah, it's a kind of a project discussion and project decision.
Okay, so whenever we'll create the master data, it will come to in our pos data. Okay, and
Hmm.
from the pos data, whenever they will punch any sales order, if I'm in the store, if
Correct.
I'm if I sell the goods, okay, I sell the grocery, whatever item we do have in our store,
Hmm.
I will sell that. So
Hmm.
it will punch the sales order from there. They will validate, over there in their
Hmm.
car system,
Hmm.
and once it is validated, then it will move to our S4 system.
No, that is where it comes to car, because look, when the transaction happened, your front end system, POS system, yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
customer has taken the goods, you gave him the receipt, and you took money, and it can be any tender, it can be a card, it can be cash, everything, anything. And then that data, it is one customer is buying one, let's say 1 kg of rice, yeah, in
Uh,
particular.
uh,
But in that on that day, there could be 10 customers
Correct.
buying the same rice, and the total quantity could be, let's say, 20 kgs. Yeah. But do I really need all those line item data? Like, because anyway, we don't keep customer information in case of retail sales. So do I really need that data? Like, which customer buys what quantity of that product? No, right? In our ERP system.
No, no, correct.
So what I will do is, at the end of the day, I will aggregate that data. I will just aggregate that data to be 20 kgs and send one record, like my store number one on this date, 20 kgs of inventory consumed, and I received 2000 rupees sales. So that is the data that comes to my ERP system, S4 system,
Okay.
where I would reduce the inventory of that product from that store by 20 kgs, and I would post 2000 rupees revenue against that product as sales revenue. But that 20, the 10 transactions that happened, that non-aggregated data, that is there within my car system. Then I can see, okay, that non-aggregated data is there in car. I have that data. So I will use, because now data is important. Data is like gold. So I can utilize, okay, this particular rice is getting sold on this date. There was a this is basmati rice, and there is Ramadan.
Tuesday.
So it is being sold more. So can I run some analytics on that, and I can buy more basmati rice before
Mm-hmm.
Ramadan. So that
Mm.
kind of analytics, I will use that data to um, uh, in car to run those analytics. Yeah.
Mm. 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 And then when accordingly we can do the planning. Yeah, if
Yes.
that basmati selling is at very like continuously, then we can
Hmm.
do the planning accordingly in our stores.
Correct. Correct.
So
So.
in short, in nutshell, whatever like 10 kg, whichever which we sold,
Hmm.
that data only we can club that or consolidate one single line item, and we can sell that, yes, 10 kg rice we have sold today with rupees 200. So
Hmm.
that much amount is received, and then we will share this data to our in IS retail.
Yeah. Correct. IS rating system. The
Okay.
S4 system.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah. In addition to then forecast, there is another thing called promotion, omnichannel promotion pricing, and PMR. the promotion management, because we have this non-aggregated data, so that also we can utilize to carry out promotions, like what kind of offers we will create, yeah? So that also can happen within car. Then with SAP, there are a lot of customers. What they did is they used to have some kind of a system called OMS system, order management system. What essentially it used to do is, if they have a website, okay, if they have a website, the OMS system used to manage the orders in the backend. You go to the website, you place an order, but for that order, whether my product is available or not, if my product is not available in one of the store, can I get it from another store and still fulfill the customer, because I don't want to disappoint the customer. So all that calculation in the backend, they used to have something called a OMS system, order management system, that used to, I mean, till still today, if you have heard about systems like Fluent Commerce, then IBM Sterling, these are some famous order management solutions. So what the SAP said, okay, I have all the inventory, I have all the products, I have all the orders, and I would feed it to OMS system to do this for me. Why? I can do it myself. So to some extent, to fulfill that OMS capabilities, SAP brought on these capabilities called OA, Omnichannel Article Availability and On-Shelf Availability. Essentially, these functionalities came just to fulfill those kind of requirements. Like, if I have a, if I'm selling in multiple channels, how do I ensure that my customer is not disappointed, and I run a kind of a sourcing at the back and give optimum delivery date to the customer, uh, and fulfill the customer order. So that is where the last two boxes, like on shelf availability and omni-channel article availability, those two functionalities within car also, it can have. I mean, these are some capabilities within car. So essentially, from an architectural point of view, this is how it looks like. You have your ECC. I mean, this is how historically it happened. Like UCC retail, now we call it as S4, S4 HANA retail, SAP S4 retail, and the POS DM. Earlier, what we used to call it as POS data management. Now we call it as POS car, SAP car. So SAP car essentially, but it is not only doing POS DTA. In addition to that, it is doing UDF, OA, OPP, yeah, all that thing that we discussed. So in terms of the architecture, this is how uh, the it looks like. Because normally in our S4 retail system, all our master data gets created, like articles, vendors, customers, stores, sites. No, in SAP retail, we call them as sites. So sites can be a store, sites can be a distribution center. Yeah. So all those master data gets created in SAP S4. So what we do is, from an architecture point of view, we use a transaction called waste out. I mean, there are other ways also, but most commonly used is waste out. It's a transaction that you use to feed the data from S4 retail to SAP car. Because when that we need those master data, because if we are running promotions, we need articles, we need locations, and it is not wise to create the same data twice, and it business also, it's a waste of effort, right? So they get created in one system, and then it is fed to SAP car. And then once the data is there in car, the second thing is, uh, when the POS data comes, like if you look at the right of the screen, so the POS data comes through PI. PI is our interface, SAP standard SAP middleware, and that gets fed to car. So when the actual sales data also comes into car, there is a data validation. Like whatever, let's say you sold article EN barcode number 1234, but when I check my system, is there a 1234 article exist in my system or not, or is that something like an external article? So that kind of checks also happen. So when the data arrives at car, okay. So that is why also you need master data in car. So all those master data gets created, fed into car, and that is utilized to do the transactional data validation. Yeah. And then once it gets validated and aggregated, that is then sent back to S4 system. As I said, your inventory, your from sales revenue, your tenders, everything gets posted because we need to post our financials. Yeah. So that is how the architecture looks like. Your master data gets fed from S4 to CAR. Your POS data, transactional data gets from your PO systems, other systems to CAR. It the data gets validated, then aggregated, and then the aggregated data sends it is sent back from CAR to S4. That
We
is
can
how
we
the
can
process.
use sorry Balaji. So we can use any types of pause. Okay, it doesn't mean that we can use SAP hybrids.
No,
Okay,
no,
if
no,
we
any type of POS. It is just
okay
we need to kind of get the data in the required format. Like what is the article, what is the quantity, sales quantity, what is the sales transaction, what is the store, are there any promotions associated with, are there any discounts associated. So as long as we have that kind of a data, it can be any POS. It's just a kind of when we do projects that time, it is just a part of an integration activity. Like whichever POS you have, SAP car needs this data, and you just send us that data. That's it.
okay. And so as we know, like myself and one of our colleague who joined, Mr. I didn't
Hmm.
remember his name. So he's having the ABAP knowledge. Okay, so
Hmm.
is there mandatory we should have that retail background, like because I'm also new in the retail and that guy also new is also from ABAP. So
Hmm.
do you think we should have that retail knowledge on that? Like we don't know the what is what we call merchandise category. We don't know what how we can create the article masters and what is listing
Hmm.
and all this stuff. So is it mandatory we should have that retail like retail knowledge and retail configurations or retail process knowledge? Like how it is that? What do you think of
Yeah,
this?
I mean, SAP CAR is primarily a system associated with retail. That is why it is always beneficial to know those terms because material is known as article, and this product hierarchy is known as merchandise hierarchy. There are article hierarchies. So those, what are they and how are they used in retail, and what is the business significance of them? If you have known or understood, then I mean, you will be quick. You will be able to quickly understand car as well. Otherwise, also, I mean, it can be managed like kind of first time you heard the term, you then try to explore what is that, um, and then you understand. Mainly, you learn along the way. So, but yeah, it is certainly beneficial if you know retail, if you have a retail background.
Okay. Okay, Balaji.
Yeah. So this is some of the differences that POS TM versus POS TT. Again, kind of just to summarize, so earlier POS TM, it was kind of uh, there were no standard tables as such. The database was Oracle, and not a lot of master data replication used to happen. It was just acting as a pipe, and there was no, you cannot see inventory and other things. But now, since it is a full blown system within car, you have database which is HANA database, and as you know all, HANA is, you can hold large amount of data and you can quickly process also a large amount of data, and there are tables now to hold this non-aggregated data and aggregated data, and there are technologies in which your master data can be replicated to car, like SLT. This is real-time replications that happens. That is why you really don't need to worry about, okay, whether I have created an article, whether I have created an outbound IDOC to send to car. If the IDOC has failed or IDOC is delayed, and my already the sales have happened in the store, they will fail. So you don't need to really worry about that with this latest technologies like DDF and SLT. So the data gets immediately available. The moment it is there in S4, immediately also it is available within car. So inventory visibility, you have inventory also available. So that way, kind of car is a full grown system where you have all these informations available now, and in standard tables. So any further troubleshooting also, it becomes easier. So from particularly from if we just dive little bit into each of the components of car. So in terms of POS DTA, what exactly do you do? We get sales transactions and payments. As I said, uh, if you have sold different products, then you get those transactions. Also, how the customer has paid. Means of payment means how the customer has paid. Is it a gift card they have used? Is it a Mastercard they have used? Is it a Visa card they have used? Or is it cash they have used? Yeah. So anything, these are called means of payment or tender types within in SAP Retail. So then the control transactions. What is the control transaction? Control transaction is something like when did my tail open, okay, and when did my tail closed. Um, so I can like when if you see there are, let's say, a number of tails. Each person in the store, they will have their own logins. So essentially, they will log in, they will utilize their tail, and they will log out. So any discrepancy, let's say for a particular day, there you see some discrepancy. Look, my inventory has reduced by 20, but I don't have inventory, but I have only sales of 10. Another 10, is there a fraud or anything happened? So to check those, I need to know exactly what time at that on that day on that time who was there in that till where these transactions have happened. So that's why to do carry out those analytics also, we have control transactions. Like we say day, um, I mean, you open transaction, close transactions, those kind of control transactions. And then we have financial transactions. Financial transactions means within the store, let's say there is a cleaner came and you need to give out some petty cash for the for them to clean the store. So that also you need to record it, yeah, as you need to post it somewhere. Otherwise, that will show as an imbalance in your system. So those kind of there is a you one of your customer colleague have a birthday and you ordered some pizza. The store manager, you ordered some pizza to feed, kind of give it to all the staff. So you need to post those transactions, yeah. So that
Okay, that
comes as
will,
financial
but
transaction.
but that amount should go from the petty cash account, not from the store till or whoever is handling that till.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How?
So the main point is, yeah, how do you kind of treat those transactions? Which account you post? So to be able to do that, first of all, we need to distinguish, right? We need to be able to record that transaction, right? So that is what I'm trying to say, that you record those transactions as a financial transaction, and then when it comes to ERPS, you can post it to different GL accounts based on your requirements. Yes. You are correct. You should go to a different GL account, like your petty cash transaction account, not your sales revenue account. But how do I do that if I don't have the capability to record that as a separate transaction? So that is what I record that as a separate transaction in CAR. It's called financial transaction. Okay? And
So
then also goods.
every transaction it will update in our S4.
No, no. I mean that's what I'm telling. So now you have all this non-aggregated data, and then you choose how do you want to aggregate, how do you want to get that data into your S4. That is something uh, we have to discuss further. How do we aggregate that data, or do we need aggregation, or we need look at for example, you have your POS sales, but you have your e-commerce sales. E-commerce sales, sometimes I want the individual transaction data because I have a customer associated. I have an online. I have some products. I have a future delivery date. So I need to know what is my sales order number, when do I create the delivery, how would I deliver to the customer. So that case, maybe we just need those individual transactions as sales orders in my S4. So that way, I will not aggregate that data. I will just send it as it is. So that is something as part of the project we discuss. Okay, you capture this as non-aggregated sales, you capture something as aggregated sales, you capture something called true transaction, you capture all the financial transactions, and then each transactions, how do we treat it in S4? So that comes next. Yeah. So this is essentially what we are trying to discuss here. What are the different things that whatever happens within a store or within your e-commerce website, how do I capture those individual transactions within car? So it can be a sales transaction, it can be means of payment, it can be a control transaction, it can be financial transaction, it can be goods movement. Goods movement means, you understand, within a store, let's say something has broken. Yeah, somebody has dropped a glass of oil. So that is a loss. So you have need to post it somewhere. So you carry out that goods movement within the store, or something like you have your kind of a, here there is a concept of stock room. Stock room means there is some stock, additional stock in the back end of the store, and once the on shelf stock finishes, you move that stock from that location to another location. So all those movements also happen within store. So can I do that? So that is called goods movement. And the total transactions is something like your let's say total cash, how much cash I have collected today from this deal. What is the total tender collected from Visa, what is the total from Mastercard. So those kind of also that those records are there in car. Yeah, essentially all those activities that happen within a store, we have a capability within car to record that and then do something about it when it goes to our ERP system. What exactly we need to do, how much we need to capture, that is purely a project discussion and business discussion that that happens within the project. Yeah. So when it comes to, these are some technical information just for your knowledge for future. Like when we send this data, aggregated data from car to ECC. So these are some of the IDOCs. The aggregated sales we use POMS, and payment of time we call PUTAB. And the W remains silent. W is mainly for used for retail, so we use called POMS, PUTAB, PUBON, PUW, yeah, PUBW, and P, PUA5. Yeah. So these are the few message type, the standard message type that is used within car to send the information to S4. Again, yeah. So give a little bit more overview of car. So in addition to whatever we discussed mainly about POS inbound, we have these functionalities also: promotion management, merchandise planning, assortment planning. What merchandise planning, assortment planning means, from a retailer point of view, what are the products that I'm going to sell in this, let's say next 3 months or 6 months, and what are my sales targets for a particular product. So those kind of thing at a very high level I can do. I can do merchandise planning, assortment, and which store. So first I decide, okay, which product I'm going to sell and where am I going to sell. So detail which store, how much. So those kind of high level activities also, because the data is available within car. So that is why the businesses are in a position to do all those planning activities within car. And then we have allocation management. Allocation management, what happens, like particularly for fashion. For fashion, what happens? Um, let a particular style of shoes gets introduced in the kind of a company. Let's say Puma. Puma introduce a particular type of shoes. So what they will do is, initially they will decide, like uh, for next before the season starts. before the season starts, like the summer season starts, I need to send this running shoes to the stores. But how much should I send to individual store? So they kind of do a allocation management. So they will buy, let's say, 200 from the vendor, and they, if they have 10 stores, I will send, let's say, instead of just, they can also purely decide to send 20 each, but also they can send, okay, this is my bigger store, it can hold more stock. Let me send 30 here, and whichever is a smaller store, I will send 10 there. So those kind of things are called allocation management. So that also you can do in car. And once you create your allocation plan, then you send it to your S4 system to further create purchase orders, stock transfer orders to purchase orders to buy from vendor, and then stock transfer order to send the stock from DC to the store. But the initial planning bit you can do it in car. That is allocation management. Fraud management, as we said, like in the store, if there are some theft is happening, so can I know which till it went from? So those can, because I have non-aggregated data, we can do that bit of the mm, that bit as well. So that is how SAP CAR helps, because we have that data. So in addition, this the we have this, as we discussed, we have post DTA, UDF, OPPOA, yeah, all this, and then after the planning and other things, I can send that data also. I can send that data to my different third party systems, like the availability data. I can send it to my e-commerce system, like Hybris or any other e-commerce systems, or I can have a marketing system. I can send, okay, these are my customers, they have bought this much product, so can we do some marketing and send them some kind of promotional emails and things like that. So that happens in a third party system. So what we do is, after this planning and analysis, we can that data can be sent to other third party systems for further business activities. Yeah. So in terms of the architecture, yeah, this is how it looks like. When the data comes within car, there are various tables, like particularly for POS data, it is called T-log tables. Yeah? T-log tables where the data comes and sits. So you have a master data, inventory, sales document, everything is fed to car. If it is, there is a CRM system or hybrid system, that multi-channel transaction data also comes into car. And then within car, you do your planning, promotions, availability, and then you feed that data to, again, your either F&R system or hybrid system, other BW systems for reporting. Yeah, and certain analytics also can directly happen in car. So, uh, so that is how the car architecture looks like. So, a little bit more into promotion management that happens in the car. So, if you know promotion, SAP promotion in standard SAP, we call that as bonus buys. Like you have this kind of thing: buy two get one, or buy two get 10%. This kind of different promotions. But within PMR, what you they little bit go at a little high level. So they first create an event, like every year how many events I will have, yeah, and then within event I will create offers, yeah. So promotional event, promotional offers, yeah. And then how do I communicate that to customer? How do I kind of create a pamphlet or send out a marketing email? So all those things I can plan within PMR first, and then you have this in S4 and in the newer system SAP CAR and S4 system, you have Fury like apps, right? Earlier it all used to be GUI, but now it is Fury. So uh, it's a bit of user friendliness and a little app feeling, because most of us use apps on mobile phones day in day out. So it's a little more user friendly. So It can all be created using Fiori apps, and then you can create those bonus buys either by percentages, by amount, by tactic mission like buy two get one free. You can send out some coupons. Like suppose, let's say there is IPL happening in India, so you can have coupons like if you buy an IPL ticket, you get some coupons, things like that. Yeah? So, and then depending on the promotions, we can have a promotional pricing also. So OPP is omnichannel promotional pricing. So we can have a different pricing also for promotions. So that can also happen. Um, yeah. So that happens within promotion management in retail, in car. So yeah, this is how the process happens. You create a campaign, you create an event, you create an offer, and sometimes your vendor funds your promotions, so you can get those things from your vendor also. And then you have once the promotions gets planned or created uh, within car, then you feed that data to your SAP ERP or S4 system. So by as bonus buys or and then that thing again gets fed to POS, because ultimately how that promotion will be used, because somebody you let's say you have a 2 for 1 offer, but it has to be there in the POS, because when the customer scans the product, that needs to come there in the POS system. If they must scan the three products, then the third product becomes free. Yeah. That is why the promotions that we create planned first in car and then created in ERP, that needs to be sent to POS for that to be utilized. So that is how it needs to go to your POS systems. And then again, when the sales data comes from POS to car, that time it comes with that promotion number. So now I have that promotion number also to analyze, like how effective was my promotion. Yeah. Because I can run some analytics. Okay, we have planned so many promotions, but was it really effective? Has it really resulted in increased sales? So those kind of analysis also we can do based on the data that we have in car. Yeah. Then, as I said, allocation management. So this happens within a car. It is just an allocation plan. In retail, in S4 retails, we have some concept called allocation table, and then you create follow-on documents from allocation table like purchase orders, stock transfer orders. But the initial bit, the planning bit, that we can do within car, as I said. So, what are my stores? What are my DCs? And what are my high-level products? So, what I will do is, mainly this is used in fashion business, because what they do is that they do an initial allocation. Let's say for my summer season, as I said, my running shoes, I will do an initial allocation and send some stock to the store. And then once the sale starts, if that product is really good and it starts selling fast, then I will do some in within the season. I will do some filling. Okay, if the bigger store is selling more, then I'll push some more stock there. So that happens within in-season filling. And okay, irrespective of that, suddenly let's say one of the stores it sold very fast. So can I just do a manual push and send some stocks quickly to that store, such that I don't lose sales? That is called in-season manual push. Yeah. Similarly, we have promotional push. Let's say that article is not selling that high, and I'm nearly nearing end of the season. So I'll create some promotions, and then I'll try to push some additional stocks that is there at DC, and if with that promotion, if it is selling good, then I will also buy some more stocks. So that is essentially that creating that allocation plan, what I need to buy, what I need to send to individual store, that all happens within car. And once that allocation plan is created, we will send that to our S4 system for further. Like you create a purchase order for this quantity from the vendor, you create the stock transfer order to send this stock from DC to store. All that follow-on activities happens within S4, but the initial planning bit happens within car.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. It means whenever if you require any material from one store to another store, they will
Hmm.
do into an S4 system and then the data will pass into car. Correct?
Yeah, yeah. So that is individual, like that is you something decided ad hoc basis. Okay, this particular product I need to send it to from DC to store. That you can directly do in S4. But from a planning point of view, because when we run do allocation, we'll see on these allocation screens, users also can see the individual KPIs like key performance indicator, how this store is selling this product over the last 3 months. Okay, so based on the KPI, I can do some planning. Okay, I can send some more stock or less stock, or create some promotion for this. Those kind of activity, the planning activities within car. But when you said about an actual transfer, okay, I have decided already. I want to send 10 amount, 10 quantity from DC1 to store 2. That I can directly do in S4. I don't need really planning. But how do I decide that 10? Can I have some analysis to do decide that how much should I send? Then I come to car and then I will run this allocation. I will create this allocation plan based on the key KPIs and other things to decide okay how much should I send. So that we can do in car.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
And then again we spoke about this pause and bound the date, the idocs, and this is again a detail level architecture. How does it look like? You have HANA database wherein we have paused master data and transactional database. That data is hold, and then we have the pipe. Pipe means essentially the earlier because it was mainly it was working as a pipe. That concept they kept to keep some data in the initially when the data comes from pause, immediately it doesn't come and sit in the database. What they do is they put it in the pipe, and then there are some additional transactions which run within car to get that into database. It is just to manage the load because we are dealing with a high volume of data within car. So essentially, how do we manage the load so that the tables don't get locked, or my data gets it and I don't lose any data while in the interface. So to take care of those things, essentially the pipe concept, whatever was there in POS DM, SAP kept those concepts. So essentially that is to just to keep how do I transfer and keep the data within car and send the data out of car to downstream systems. Yeah. And then it can be an IDOC or it can be a BAPI. There can be a directly API call to create those transactions in car. I don't need to really create iDocs. There are multiple options depending on the business project discussions. We decide like where to use PAPI, where to use iDoc. So those kind of discussions happens because there is an advantage with BAPIs, right? It can be really quick. It can be in real time. There will not be much of lag. But when you create iDoc, you have the advantage. If there are certain things fails, you can always go back and check, yeah, what has failed, why it has failed. So both has its pros and cons. So depending when you go into actually project discussion, that time you see okay how much data you have. Do you really bother if let's say you lose few data, or if you have less data then we will take care so that each and every 100% of transaction gets processed successfully. Yeah. So depending on the customer data, what is the volume of data and how do they run their business, that we kind of decide the detailed level architecture. But high level, this is how it have. They have database for mastered and transactional data, pi for kind of processing the data, and then you have either BAPIs and converters to um, change the data from POS system and modify the data before it gets posted. And once the data is posted, then you can feed it to third-party systems or within SAP also other SAP systems for further like BW for reporting, F&R for forecasting. Yeah. So other systems for different purposes. Yeah. So that is the a brief overview of car. Um, and then yeah, if you have any doubts, we can discuss. And
So SAP on Rise and SAP premises both are same because the where I'm going to work they have that SAP on Rise with Azure
okay, so
private
Rise
cloud.
is mainly it is to do with cloud actually. So
Yeah, correct.
because nowadays mostly things are happening in cloud. So SAP also is not, but still S4 HANA car you can have on-prem versions.
But
You
it
can
will be
still
the
have
same
on-prem.
like when we will say like when we have to map that inbound outbound all the processes will be the same. Like we have to create the profile and
Yeah, yeah,
customer
yeah.
vendor like.
So that is essential. It doesn't matter whether you are on-prem or cloud. Those
So
activities they still need to
who
be performed.
and then who will perform this activity? SAP car guys or or whole SAP? I believe SAP will do or we have to do.
No, we have to do because we have to decide depending on the as consultants when we get
Mm-hmm.
into blueprinting and
Mm-hmm.
initial like exploration phase. That time we would decide what data you have, how much data, how much master data you have, whether you have
Mm-hmm.
10,000 articles or you have 100,000 articles. So depending on
Mm-hmm.
that, we decide that how who whether we will use a standard SAP middleware or you will use a third party middleware. Yeah. So all those things during project discussions that will happen and you will decide the detailed architecture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, Balaji. I'm good with your whatever you have explained. I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
Let me discuss with commercial part with your training partner.
Yeah.
So when we are expecting when we are going to start the session?
I don't know. Let's kind of
Yeah,
let
yeah, yeah.
me discuss that
Okay, okay,
and then yeah.
okay.
Yeah, hi, Balaji. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, we will discuss that
Yeah, hi,
further.
Balaji.
Yeah, Harish.
Yeah, hi, Balaji. I'm not one thing. You said I'm a technical consultant at a okay. So I will to understand these things because I don't know anything about the ICT part.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I can't. Yeah, yeah. Me too. Like we're facing some like voice is gyrating.
Now I'm audible.
Now it's okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm an ICT ABAP and I don't have any idea about the IS details. So it will be useful for me or not, and I will to understand the concept or not.
No, no, as I said, look, if you have IS retail, then it is certainly helpful to understand the concepts a little bit easier. But I would not say that if you don't know it, that's the end of the world. No, you can't do this. No, that is not the case because
And
these are yeah. So you can still understand and gradually learn along the way. I would say.
And then how's the market? Because I'm currently in technical side, so I want to switch in the functional side. So how's the market for the SAP card
Sorry,
for
I
the
didn't get your
job
question.
perspective?
Sorry.
Sorry, Harish
Uh,
and Balaji. I have to leave this call. I just joined the other office call. Okay. Thank you, Balaji and Harish. Okay. Please, you
Yeah,
guys
thank you.
continue. Okay? Thank you.
so I'm asking, how is the market for job perspective for this SAP card? Because I want to switch in the functional side from technical to functional. So how is the jobs in market for the SAP card?
I mean, currently we have a lot of, I mean, SAP because SAP has given a lot of capabilities within car. That is why the customers are interested. But still, I would suggest because SAP's pricing are little, so that's why some customers I have also seen that they had to drop car because it was too expensive for them. But I would say the SAP's car is kind of their futuristic solution, and that is where SAP also tries to sell car to most of the customers, most of the
So
retail
actually
customers.
the card is mostly using the IS retail industry like that. So you can say DMart, Reliance. So like in this industry, there will be the
Yeah,
city car
yeah, yeah.
or
It is
how
mainly
that will
associated with retail. It's a retail proposition actually. It is not normally car is not. They are not selling it along with manufacturing or any other IS solutions. It is industry solution retail. Car is kind of a retail solution. Yes.
be.
Okay. Sorry, Rish, actually, I need to drop off. I have to. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can discuss further any part we have it out. Yeah. Naveen, I will discuss with you. I'll call you back a little later. Yeah.
Thank you for the knowledge.
Yeah. Thank you.